Hello everyone. In tonight's video we are going to tie, I'm going to tie a caddis fly, and it's going to be a rather simple one, like this. And I will show you, I will lead you through materials first. This one is like very simple. It has CDC and it has body out of one material with thorax of the same material. So let's just hop into the first and most important material now. And this is it. It's well, it was supposed to be a kind of a vest, I guess, because of these markings here on the pelt. What this is actually is a rabbit called Castor, and look at this. It's so fluffy. It's like incredible. What is interesting about this rabbit fur? Castor is a rabbit. It's bred for, I guess, pelts. I'm not sure. So for obviously clothes and fly tying, I would say. It doesn't have guard hairs, so it's super gentle, like incredible gentle dubbing, and it's not too long. So if you can see it here, it's around maybe 2 centimeters long, and as I said, there are no guard hairs, but if you cut it like so, what's left, it's like you can't even notice if there are any tips like tapered or not. Like you can use upper portion, lower portion, you won't see any taper in the I mean, you would see taper in the hair, but it's irrelevant. It's like super fine dubbing, and it produces very nice results. So I will lead you how I make dubbing out of this leather, pelt. I just got it recently, a couple of days ago. I've made a couple of nymphs before this on my, one nymph at least, on my channel, but with different color of this rabbit, and this is first time I've seen this color, and it's quite beautiful. It has this brownish, and here on the edge it has this kind of silver color. It's super nice. So what I usually use to cut it is trimmer. So I would just go, and you start here at the beginning, obviously, and you don't go all the way to the bottom. You lift this up a little bit, so I leave maybe half a centimeter, maybe centimeter, so I don't cut the full length of this hair. I do it in layers. So if I want to tie super small flies, I would make 5 to 7 millimeters long hairs. If I want something more universal, I would do it like 1 centimeter, let's say, like that, maybe a little bit more. So to spice things up, I would use this dubbing, and it's this one, so you can read it, I guess. So let's get into it. So what I just did is I set my trimmer to number 7 over here, and the result is rather short fur. I don't know how much you can see, but it's pretty short, yeah? So let's see what we can get with this, yeah? I mean, I already prepared some quantity of this, but I wanted to show you, to lead you through the process of it. And believe it or not, I was cutting the hair here, and it's almost invisible. The result is almost invisible. It's so dense fur that it doesn't allow, like if you don't cut it all the way through to the bottom, it won't be visible that you cut something. It's like actually making it less dense with this trimmer. I maybe the bad trimmer, I guess, not sure. So my next step is to, so let me just show you what I got here. This is what I got, just a pinch, and not too much. I mean, this is enough for a couple of dozen of flies. And now I'm going to take my whip finish tool, grab a couple of, well, not couple, but grab some quantity of this nice purple material, and then let's just compare the size of both clumps. So this is too much. I'll just grab maybe half of it, yeah, like so. These fibers are pretty long, so what I would do is I would just grab them, try to make them even a couple of times, like so, even them up if possible, and then go with my scissors, cutting like so. First clump, and I put it together with the dubbing, and the next one I cut again in half. That leaves me with relatively short fibers, but still a little bit longer than fur. Then I use magic tool. It's grinder for seeds, I guess. Coffee. I put it inside and you will hear. Excuse me for the noise. Let's do this. And this is the final result. It's super fluffy, as you can see. It's so light. I mean, this big clump, pretty feathery like. And now let's go into tying and see what result you can get with this. Well, I was saying all about Castor rabbit, but I didn't mention the most important part of the fly. It's the wings. That's what will keep it afloat, and it's CDC. Now notice the shape. It's what I called triangular or diamond shape, because when you pull those fibers like so, almost all those, well, not fibers but barbs, all those barbs will go and align at the tip length, which will actually maximize what you can use out of one feather, as opposed to oval feather, and those barbs would be short here, everyone short. So when you pull this up, you will use just the top part of the feather, which is not as efficient. The next thing is again Simperfly. This is 12/0 nano silk. I like it because I can cinch down on CDC, and I can. It's very easy to split, and I need splitting thread technique for this fly. So without any further ado, let's just jump into tying, and this one is going to be fast. This is DMCO 2487 in size 12, rather large, because most of those caddis flies that I've seen in brown would match this size. I'm talking about Serbia. You can always change the hook size and everything in the size according to your insects on your water. So because I'm using GSP thread, I'll just start obviously with flat thread to prevent creating too much bulk. I'll cover the whole length of the hook I want to use, so I'll just go towards the rear end of the hook, and because this is a curved hook, I like sometimes just to rotate my vise so I don't have this thread slipping down. I mean, it's not going to slip down now, but sometimes you can do that. Now, I was mentioning this feathery dubbing, so let's go through it, and you can see how fluffy and almost translucent it is. Now you need a little bit of moisture on your fingers, so lick your fingers, touch your forehead if it's sweaty or whatever. Just use the dump cloth next to you. Use super thin and super small amount of dubbing, and then just go clockwise and create a noodle. As you can see, the noodle is almost as thick as the thread, and just create a noodle a little bit thicker after that, like so. The first pinch should be very thin one to start the fly, and everything else later can be a bit thicker, but keep it as even as possible, and in this case keep it as tight as possible. I don't want to have too I mean, you can't have spiky fly with this kind of dubbing, because the dubbing is not like that. It's not just a feature of this dubbing. If you want something spiky, just use squirrel, rabbit, I mean hare, or whatever you can find. So let me just end this and let me show you what I end up with. So you can see the dubbing noodle. I mean, it's out of focus, but you can see that it's quite even. Now let's go and wrap this up. Now let me see, I'm quite close. Okay, so I use a couple of wraps behind, and then I just overlap them and then go wrap by wrap. And the reason why I was doing clockwise wraps is this dubbing now is going to get tighter and tighter as I wrap it up around the hook. And then as you reach the point where you want your wings to start, and this is more or less here, I'll just remove all the dubbing I don't need. And I removed it, and look at this. It's almost ready for the next fly. It's not tight. Now, in order not to untie everything, I'll just make a layer here. I can allow myself to do that. Now look at this now. It's going to be a very cool effect. I'll brush it with Velcro, and it will give it like a 3D effect. It looks, in my opinion, it looks very beautiful. It looks super like pulsating, if you know what I mean. Here the whole body looks like it's breathing, opening and closing in size. Now I will use the 2 CDC feather I prepared, and I explained the shape at the beginning. So I usually don't use hackle pliers for this, but it was just for the video purposes. I'll just stroke all those barbs, not fibers. I'll just want to stroke all those barbs to go together, and when I think I have enough length, I'll just measure it. So my finger is touching the eye, but I want to go into the hook here, so it will extend the hook, and by this way I know that my wings are going to be same length on every fly. So I'll just do this. I'll fold those barbs upwards to position them prior to tying, and then position everything on the top of the hook, and then and then 1 loose wrap, 2 loose wraps. Put your index finger against the CDC feather and pull up. Prevent it from spinning around the hook. Pulling up is usually enough to prevent, but I want to keep it safe, on the safe side. So pull towards you or up to tighten everything up. Now check, is everything on the top of the hook shank? As you can see, it is. Now I can, these are locking wraps. Now look at this. If you cut the feather like this, it's going to be flush, and the transition will be too abrupt. Cut it by an angle, as shallow as possible. It's easy if you do it like so. I'll explain you why. You can do it like this if you want, and it's not going to be flush, even though I cut it flush. Now look at this. Yeah, okay. I'll go from behind, catching hold. Oops, I did it too long. Never mind. I'll do it again. Now, because I cut these barbs here, they're going to be the shortest ones, and these are the longest ones. So when I push them down with thread, the shortest ones will just make a taper towards the eye. But I failed to do that close enough, so I'll just correct it with my scissors right now. I want this taper here, because when I cinch down, I will not cinch down on all those barbs together. I will more or less cinch them down almost individually. Okay, now let's see what I've done. Yeah, it's still on the top of the hook, that's important. As you can see, I've used white feather on the top to make this fly more visible. Now I will make this thread flat, and I'll just insert the dubbing inside. Okay. I can make a loop, that's okay, but this thread is amazing. It's thick enough to support splitting, and it's strong enough because it's GSP. So what I do, I make a relatively long pinch of dubbing, and I just put it inside, and I distribute it a little bit more here. And obviously there is going to be a lot of fibers flying around, so to prevent that, I'm just going to take those that are not going to be in the loop. I spin it a little bit like so, and then I stop everything and just pull out those that are too loose, leaving me with a relatively nice dubbing brush here. So if I need more spinning, I'll just spin it, and I spin it clockwise for the same reason I was dubbing the clockwise direction. As I go in wrapping motion, it will get tighter and tighter, not looser and looser. So I'll go over the wings the first wrap, keeping the wings on the top of the hook shank again. Do the same motion, and then just pull those hairs back. You can do like soft hackle wrap, so pull this out and pull and pull and pull out of your way, leaving enough room for the clean head. Leaving enough room for the clean head will mean that you planned your fly well and that you know what you're doing. Obviously it happens to me sometimes that I don't know what I'm doing. I make a mistake, I just not concentrated enough, I guess. So that's it. Now about the whip finish, I'm trying to make it flat again. I mean, I'm repeating like a parrot. Flat thread, flat thread, flat thread. But guys, it is important, and I cannot stress enough how important it is to work with flat thread in most instances. So what I'm trying to do now, I'm trying to get it flat, so when I tie the knot, it's going to be nice and smooth. Now the reason, like when you're tying with some other threads, synthetics, whatever, polyesters or whatever threads there are there, when you tie and you spin your thread, you cord your thread, it tends to twist into itself and it creates the loop like so. I'll just try to show you like so. This loop, it will create this loop, and this loop, when it goes under the whip finish knot, can just jam, and that's why your whip finish knots can break before you even tighten them up completely, and your tie gets undone. So go with flat thread, 1, 2, 3, so one next to another, wraps not overlapping, and tighten in the rearward motion. Let's do it again. Not necessary, but let's do it again. So flat thread, I'll just remove those hairs. So flat thread, 1, 2, move the hair, 3. If you have some stray hairs, you can do it with the last wrap. You can just hide them. So let's go back, tighten, and because this is GSP, when you tighten this enough, what's going to happen is going to get the color of whatever is beneath, so you don't need to color it. It's not going to stay white. Now I'm gonna pull some tension here, and then with my scissors just go close and cut, and that would be it. Finished fly. So whatever you want, It's a caddisfly imitation. You can use whatever you want setup for this one. You can fish it as a single fly, as a point, or as a, what do you call that, dropper, to support this very small nymph, obviously beneath. I rarely do that. Well, almost never. I love to fish those flies as a single flies because these flies are amazing. They're delicate. They catch fish, and I don't think I'm in any I will get any more chances if I use two flies. Just one fly, if presented well, will give me enough fish. I like to use, with CDC flies, I like to use very thin tippets because they don't tend to spin your tippets. So I can cast them with very thin tippet and very long tippet, which will allow me greater and longer dead drifts. Obviously, because the behavior of caddis flies is that they sometimes skitter over the surface, you can just skitter them over the surface, and if you make enough, like full enough wings to support your fly even when skittered, sometimes you can just dive the fly under the surface, simulating the egg-laying caddis, and then just release the tension and the fly will pop up on the surface again, which can be a very, very interesting trigger for the fish. So just make your presentation be different, experiment. Caddis flies are so cool because of that, because you can always do various things with them, as opposed to mayflies are not as active as caddis flies. So guys, I hope you like this video. I hope you'll maybe learn something new. So stay tuned and see you next week.